today.
Me too.
Have you ever heard the knock at the door? You know, we have that famous line. Well, Daniel did.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about now a little deeper sense of crises, personal crises, and response to personal crises. And so the knock comes at the door. It's the captain of the king's guard, Arioch, and he is, by the king's command, gathering all of the wise men to be executed because they won't tell him the dream and the interpretation.
Yeah.
This is chapter 2 in Daniel. So it's pretty cool. Daniel doesn't all of a sudden melt.
Right. Yeah, his life's on the line.
He doesn't know anything about this.
Yeah, that's right.
Because he wasn't in this meeting.
That's right.
So he doesn't know about this. And he gets a knock at the door. Hi, you're on the execution list.
Yeah.
And here's this guy with his soldiers, and he's there, and they're going to be big, burly soldiers ready to take him in. And his response, as a young man, he's just off of this program, this training program.
Yeah.
And so he responds, the Bible says, with wisdom and tact. And I love that. I'm going to read it just so you hear it. When Arioch, the commander of the king's guard, had gone out to put to death the wise men of Babylon, Daniel spoke to him with wisdom and tact. And then he starts to ask, why did the king do this? Because he doesn't know.
Yeah.
Why? And then he has this quick response, well, you got to go back to the king, give me 24 hours, basically.
Yeah.
And, I'll bring the king the interpretation.
Yeah.
So this is incredible.
It is.
To me, it's a stunning moment.
Especially in the context of this being a young man as well, right? He just, right away, he goes right to wisdom and tact, right? Right to strategy, right to, I need to figure out the why, and then it always goes to God for Daniel. So, okay, we'll go and ask the king for this time, and then let's get down to it. Yeah. Let's get down to how we're going to resolve this.
Yeah. There was such a confidence that Daniel had in God, and knowing that he was all powerful and he knew what was going on, and he just went, God's got this. He knows what's going on. He's the one who gave him the dream. So, we have to go to God with this. So just that confidence in him just gave him that wisdom and that tact. He went. Yeah,
it has its roots within his trust of his God.
Yeah.
So, you take a look at this situation. What would be the other option? The knock comes at the door. What's the other option when you hear, hi, you're on the execution list, right?
It would have been panic, and fear, the opposite of the wisdom and tact, right? What?
But a certain kind of fear. It'd be like a panic.
Like a panic, a gripping where you just absolutely...
You don't have a moderate fear. If you're going to have fear control you, it's not a moderate fear when they tell you, hi, we're going to kill you today.
Yeah, exactly. It's an unreasonable where you can't get your thoughts right and your heart is just pounding out of your chest, and that's why this is so phenomenal how Daniel responded, because I can definitely relate to that panic response, but that crises rarely comes with some warning, right? It usually gets you quite unexpectedly, so it's not as though you have time to prepare for that specific incident that's causing you whatever your response will be.
No prep time.
It's like driving on the highway and all of a sudden there's a truck coming at you. How is your reaction time? There's going to be panic, or are you going to choose wisdom and tact?
That's funny you just brought that up, because I was going to give an example that I just thought of. Because I'm looking out at snow coming down, of, when you come up behind somebody at a stoplight and you hit an ice patch, and your heart's going, and you're hitting the brakes as hard as you can, and all you're looking at is their bumper. Where you should be looking at, where can I go?
Where can I veer?
Right? And that's funny you brought that up, because that would be what the moment's like.
It would be.
Yeah, and he doesn't. It's like he's looking where I can go. What are my options here? You say, well, that's just a calm, cool, collected personality. No, that's somebody that's got something in their life out of which they're living that doesn't first entertain the power of the circumstance.
That's right. He's only entertaining the power of the God he serves. He is so confident in the characteristics of God that he can just completely rely on that. He's not worried about his own end game. He just knows, I know who my God is. I know what he can do. That's where I'm going. And hey, also, if I'm going to be executed, then that was God, God's using that. God's in that.
Faith comes in the times when you know that God is in control of those end times. That's when faith kicks in. It's like an overdrive that is built in you because of those things that he did on a daily basis, those practices. Going back to those practices, it comes back to that. It was so built in him. It was so constantly built in him that his reaction wasn't, oh, what am I going to do? It's like, okay, what is God going to do? What's God going to do in this? That was his reaction.
True. And that shows up, of course, with the next thing he does, which the moment the door closes and Areochus said, okay, I'll do that. And he gets his 24 hours. So all of a sudden he goes and he grabs his 3 guys and he says, we're praying.
That's right.
We need God's mercy here to gift us with the gift and with the dream and interpretation. And so they know exactly where they're going. And you both have already alluded to this, but see, God has certain characteristics that they're totally unique to God. Omnipotent is a word that just means all-powerful. Omniscient is a word that means all-knowing. And omnipresent, of course, is a word that's he's everywhere. All right. So they knew then that he was near them. He's everywhere. He knew everything. And he had the power to do whatever he wanted to do. So isn't that a fantastic mix for us as believers?
Absolutely.
That when the knocks come at the door, we've got a place to go where there's all power, where there's all knowing, and where he is near. He's right here. He's always right here.
Absolutely.
Like, that's pretty amazing. That's where they go.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's just that complete confidence. These are crises we're talking about. These aren't, celebrations. These aren't exciting times. They're difficult times, our most difficult times. To be able to put your faith and trust in a God that is all these things. I mean, what an amazing gift for us to have. And that does allow us to put fear on the sidelines, to put panic on the sidelines. Doesn't mean you're not going to have those feelings, but when your trust is there, and it shows by the wisdom that you display in these times, I mean, that's a beautiful thing. We have this confidence. It's amazing.
What we've talked in the past about, I guess it was last night, about the stage, and that we're just part of his game, his beginning and his end. So we're just this little thread in his tapestry, and so we're just not promised that it's always going to be easy, but through him, it's part of what he has already set out for us. So understanding that, it kind of almost takes the pressure off of us, that it isn't about us and our end and what we're going to do, it's what he's going to do. And because we see ourselves as part of it.
Yeah. I think when we were pre-talking this, Nelson, you had brought up that they trusted God with their end line. And that for me was such a yes, that's right. When we're trying to create our own end line on things, whether it's our life or our marriage or whatever it is, when we've decided on what the end line is, and then we become very manipulative and coercive, whereas when we can just trust that, God has our end line, he knows what it is, and so we're walking in obedience and confidence in him. It's just saying yes to God and complete confidence, and it takes away that need to control and manipulate and whatever. Yes.
The finish lines are definitely when we find ourselves trying to draw the end of our scene one, right? We're writing the script. We want, I'm done with the marriage. I am done with this job. Or the opposite.
Right.
Where actually it's time to end the job. Right? And it's time, no.
I'm not ready.
God's trying to move you on, and no, I don't want to, So, you're trying to control those finish lines when God is saying there's certain finish lines I want to keep moving you on from and stuff, and then there's certain ones I'm going to keep you in. And you got to stay in the game.
Right.
And that's really important for the Christian, that kind of obedience, that kind of purpose view is absolutely necessary for us to actually see God do his best work.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Otherwise, we're going to be starting to mess with it.
Yes.
Yeah, we just can't manipulate God. I think that we try to control so much in our lives that we just forget, or we just, when it gets hard, and I know I've done this in my past, it's like I can control these things and these things are easy for me. And then at the end of it, it's like, well, that could have been so much better if I just gave it to God to begin with and brought him into my plans instead of making the plans and then going, okay, God, can you please bless these? It's just so opposite. And having him make the plans for your life instead of you're the one, seeing that you're in control, because you're not.
That's right. So, folks, when you find that you are actually not letting go of the things you should be letting go of, and you are letting go of the things you shouldn't be letting go of, you're in charge of your inlines. When you too easily get in charge, you're going to manipulate. You're going to do whatever you can, and your self-preservation and protection and fear and panic will drive the agenda. What gives us the greatest confidence in crises is that crisis is not contained by our world. God contains it. And we can go and find in him what we need, everything that we need. And that allows us to maybe be a little bit stronger in these moments, and clearer and wiser and more effective. I'd really encourage you on this. Wherever you see you need to let go of some things, because God said, that's over, but you keep bringing it. Let it go.
Yeah.
Wherever he says, no, stay, you hang in. I want you there. We're not done here yet. Stay.
Yeah.
All in all, let him be the director. God bless.